Phil, you had been feeling and predicting that we were headed for a likely NG. I realize it's not a full not guilty, but anybody who tells you this isn't a win for Diddy is lying to you. This is an absolute win for him, and that's why he's pumping his fist and smiling today. Your thoughts?
Well, thanks for having me. It's always great to be with you here, Megyn. Look, this is about many things, but at the heart of this verdict, I think, is reasonable doubt. I mean, all it takes for a jury to find someone not guilty is one doubt for which a reason can be attached. And if you have statements made by victims, you've read some of them in your opening just now, where these alleged victims had expressed a willingness and a desire to participate in some of these things. It is a very difficult thing for a prosecutor sometimes to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that despite those statements and despite that evidence, they are in fact victims. Okay. And so the jury is probably going to leave there thinking, you know what? He's a slimy person. He's a terrible person. He's probably guilty of all of these things, but the prosecution was just unable to prove to us beyond a reasonable doubt all the elements of the crimes as to the rest of the counts. And look, whatever the judge does give him in terms of sentencing, there's no parole to speak of in the federal system. And it's entirely possible that these are not run consecutively or concurrently. They could, in fact, be stacked potentially. And there's no reason to think that the judge is going to stay necessarily within the sentencing guidelines. It's very possible that the judge maxes out whatever is possible on what he's been convicted of. So for a man of his age, you know, even a 5 or 6 or 7 year prison sentence in the federal system is not insignificant at all. Now, I do agree with you. On balance, this was a win. He's already been in custody for, 10 months or so, I think it is now, and he will get credit for that. So for Diddy and for his team, there is something of a light at the end of his tunnel, but it's not over yet. The sentencing could still be relatively severe under the circumstances.
My team's informing me if there are no enhancements to the bare minimum sentencing under the transportation to engage in prostitution charges. One conviction on this charge would be 15 to 21 months. 2 counts, convicted under 2 counts, which is what he has been, is 21 to 27 months, so about 2 years. But we believe that there will be enhancements given the level that he was accused of coercion and so on. So we'll see. So we're looking at probably it technically could be up to 10 years, but it's not going to be that because he has a criminal record, but it's not so great that he served jail for more than 30 days or got to the point where this would be held against him. In other words, they don't count his criminal history against him unless he was sentenced to more than a year of probation or 30 days in jail on prior offenses, and he wasn't. So it's as if he had no prior offenses. New York Times reporting that Mark Agnifilo, Sean Combs' lead lawyer, has asked that his client be released ahead of sentencing now that he is no longer facing sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges, much more serious charges than the ones that he was convicted on. He's saying Combs is not a flight risk because he does not have access to his passport or his plane. This is his first conviction, he says, and it's a prostitution offense, and so he should be released on appropriate conditions, Agnifilo said. The lawyer is asking that Mr. Combs return to his home in Miami Beach, Florida. That's very interesting, and he's probably going to win that, I think. We'll see. Bringing in now Arthur Aidala, famed criminal defense attorney, but also has a history as a prosecutor back when he was younger. Just got off of the Harvey Weinstein trial himself. And your reaction, Arthur, to the breaking news that Sean Combs basically won this case, but for 2 prostitution counts.
It's a tremendous victory. And here's why I'm personally happy. The prosecutor who brought the case, Damian Williams, I don't think he was a good guy. I don't think he was a good U.S. attorney in the Southern District. I think his personal ambitions just clouded his judgment. I mean, he was going around telling people quietly that he was positioning himself to run for president of the United States. And he wanted to bring down Combs. He wanted to bring down the mayor of the city of New York. That was his ambition. And the conviction rates are so high in the Southern District that once you get indicted, it's over 90% when you go to trial. So this is a huge victory for the defense, for Sean, because there's no mandatory minimum. You know, you and I spoke yesterday. All these other counts, the judge, if it was his uncle, has to send him to prison, but that's not the case here. However, I don't think this judge is going to give him a walk in the park either. He's definitely giving him jail time. The judge is allowed to take into consideration all of the factors he heard during this trial, even the ones he was acquitted of. I was involved in a case where it was a murder case in federal court. The guy was acquitted of the murder, but there was a drug aspect of it that he was convicted of. He should have gotten 3 or 4 years, and the judge gave him the maximum with all the enhancements. And she's put on the record, I'm taking into account all the facts I heard about the murder. So Sean Combs could be home in a very short amount of time, or he could, you know, I think it's up to 10 years that he can be sentenced to. So if you're the defense attorney, though, Megyn, you're very satisfied with the outcome of this case.
You're thrilled. You can't say thrilled
Yes.
because your client did get found guilty on 2 counts, but you're thrilled.
No, you're thrilled.
I mean, this is a huge win. This guy was looking at life in prison if he got convicted on the RICO count, and those sex trafficking counts, 2 of them, one for Cassie, one for Jane, are no joke. 15 years minimum, required minimum. The judge,
mandatory.
The judge has no discretion. So, you know, that he managed to skate on both of those. This coming in now that the defense, again, trying to argue for his freedom pending sentencing. They suggested a $1 million bond. The judge had rejected that pending trial. They asked repeatedly to get Sean Combs out on bail pending trial, and the judge repeatedly said no. The government here vehemently opposing Sean Combs' release. The lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, saying the defense is underplaying the seriousness of the conviction and is urging the judge to keep him detained. What kind of factors would go into that analysis, guys? Do you know? Like when the judge, you got a conviction, but it's 2 prostitution counts. I mean, they are felony counts, but I don't know. Would you normally detain a guy like this?
Like, Megyn, all I can say is this. If they put forth the same bail package that they have put forth, where he was going to have to stay in his house, pay for his own security, obviously have ankle bondage on, have no electronic devices in his house except like a landline, old school telephone to communicate with people, it would be so beyond the pale. It would be such an injustice for this judge not to give him bail under those conditions based on this conviction. If Sean Combs or anyone went in and pled guilty to this count, you would be looking at probably a non-jail disposition. You'd probably be looking at some form of probation. I don't think he's going to get probation because of the jail, the notoriety, and who he is. But he's not a danger to society under those bail conditions. He's not a flight risk under those bail conditions. He's no longer facing mandatory jail time. So the judge definitely should be giving him some sort of bail package.
Phil, right now, the New York Times reporting the judge said he needs time to consider the law before making a decision on whether Combs can walk out of the courthouse today. He's been incarcerated since September of 2024. I mean, how much time can the judge take here? He sends him back to prison. It's like, I don't know, how much time is he going to take?
If I can feel that one, I have a little bit different take on it, Megyn. Look, he no longer has the presumption of innocence, right? At least with respect to the charges he was convicted of. So there's no right to bail, like there might be arguably a right to bail in a pretrial situation, at least if you meet the criteria. In this case, the judge already knows whether or not he's thinking about sending Combs to prison for some extended period of time. And if he's going to send him to prison, there's no real it doesn't really make sense to go ahead and release him now. If he's going to be giving him some additional jail time, why let him out? Go ahead and let him begin serving that now. He's already convicted. The judge has heard all of the evidence of all of the terrible things that Combs has done during his life, and particularly with respect to some of these women, the domestic violence, the drugs, all of it. He's heard all of this stuff. And so if he is thinking, look, if I'm the judge and if I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be sending him, let's just say it's going to be a 3 or 4 year prison sentence. I'm going to say, no, you're not going to get out on bail. You're going to go ahead and stay in custody. We'll sentence you next month. but that way this time is counting towards the overall sentence. On the other hand, if the judge is thinking, okay, I'm going to let him out on probation, well, and if he lets him out on bond, then that could be an indicator that the judge is thinking about probation or some lower jail term. I don't think the judge is thinking about a bare minimum jail term, maybe not the maximum, probably something in the middle. And in my view, that would weigh in favor of keeping him in custody, denying the bail package. It doesn't do much good to let somebody go home to Miami Beach just to order them back to prison a few months later, at least in my view.
No, that's
that
a great,
sense.
that actually is a great point. And I will tell you from what my clients tell me, the hardest part about going to prison is actually those first days. And right now, believe it or not, Sean Combs has a routine. It may have been thrown off for the trial, but he knows all the people, he knows the guards, he knows the commissary, he knows the work. So he's in a relatively comfort zone as opposed to him leaving and then going back, which makes things more difficult. However, these charges in the world of federal criminal law are pretty minute.
It is a felony. It's not the same as like hiring a prostitute and like getting caught in a hotel room with her, right? Transportation to engage in prostitution as a federal crime is a felony with real jail time attached to it. So this is not that petty, Annie. It's not as small as it could be. But yeah, compared to the other charges he was facing, since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.